Hi, it's Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. We're back in my kitchen where today I'm going to be teaching you how to take care of your canner. Now, we put the canner away for the latter part of the winter, and now we're into April. We're still getting freezing weather. We're mid-April and we're still getting freezing weather and snow. This is a very unique year. It's like the weather patterns this year are already mixed around. So anyway, we're going to talk about how to maintain your canner. We're bringing it out of storage and how often you should oil the seal. We're going to be discussing all that and how to take care of it. Now down in here what I have is I have the lid and I have the ring. Now I just cleaned my sink and I've got it bleached really well here for the for canning the meats that I'm going to be canning. So I've got everything cleaned, I've got everything bleached. Matter of fact, I bleached it 4 times and I cleaned it really, really well. Even the strainer here. Cleaned and bleached all the lids, rinsed everything really well. And now what we're doing is, the last time I canned and I used this, I cleaned it up really well before I put it into storage. But because I store my canner outside and dust and who knows, mice, I don't know, but whatever might have touched it, because when you store this, you want to store this with the lid on here loosely. You do not want to store it with the ring on here tight. That can tear up your rubber ring here. So what we do here is I've just had this soaking and I'm just going to use a nice hot soapy water on this. We're going to clean that side. This is just the rubber ring. If you have an American canner, you're not going to have the rubber ring, and that's fine. So the American canner will not have a rubber ring, but the Prestos and some of your others do. And then you just want to take and open this up. Matter of fact, you can just take this little piece right here off. You open it up like that, and we're just going to kind of go around it a few times like this right here, just to kind of get up in there. When you maintain your canner, you're going to get longer use out of it. It will definitely last you longer. Now I do this and I wash my canner every time I can. Now I don't mean every time I can, meaning every time I do a load. I'm saying every time I get done with my canner and I put it away, I wash it. I wash it and scrub it really well. That's just the smart thing to do. And then the outside rim, just like that. Now on warm water, we're just going to rinse it. We're going to rinse the soap off of it because we don't want that soap, the lime soap with it, we don't want it to be damaging. I'm just going to take it a few times around, and we don't want to stretch it. I'm not pulling this because I'm not stretching it. I hope you can hear what I said. Now see, I'm not, when I rinse this, I'm not pulling this. I'm not stretching this at all. All right, we're not stretching it. We're just kind of getting the soap off of it. There's a little soap there as well. All right, now we're going to let this dry, and we're going to work on this piece. Now on the lid, you'll notice that you have some brown marks here around where your weight was. And you'll also notice, let me get this kind of, there we go. You'll also notice a little rubber gasket here. This is the emergency blowout. And this, believe it or not, also goes up and down just a little bit. But it should be very tight in there. This should not pop out. If this pops out, this little black piece ever pops out on you, that means you got the pressure in there too hot and something happened. This is for minerals in our local water. That's perfectly normal. And if you scrub hard enough, you can get that to come off, okay? It's not necessary that it comes off. Just try not to let it build up too much. Take care of these Bakelite handles. That's important. And then hit the rim and each one of these little areas here. All right, make sure there's no food on the underside anywhere. And rinse. All right. Now you can see where I've got some of this to come off, and it will come off. If I work at it, it will come off. It's just we have very hard water here. Now this is important. Let me kind of dry this off here just a little bit so I can handle it without it slipping. Now because I cleaned my sink, what I did here is I actually put another cloth on the bottom of my sink so I didn't scratch my sink up. And you can lay another one across here like this that's dry. This will keep you from getting the aluminum marks on your, if you've got a white sink. Just a little hint there. I didn't clean my sink for 45 minutes yesterday just to get it dirty today, so trying to maintain. That's not always easy, but okay. So here we are now. Let me get my hands dry. It's very important that this is dry for the next step that I'm about to show you here. Now, the next step is we have to make sure that our steam vent right here is clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to blow through it. Now, I'm not actually putting my lips or my mouth on it. I'm just blowing air. So we know that's working. We know this piece is good. Now, somebody wrote me 2 days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't know. But somebody wrote me and they said that their Presto canner, they were canning for the first time in their Presto canner. And when this popped up, it literally blew this completely off the thing. So they hurried up. If that ever happens to you, turn off the heat, pick up the canner, sit it aside on another cool burner, and let it naturally come back down. Let it just go ahead and release that steam and just let it naturally come down. Don't mess with a good thing. If it hasn't exploded or none of the jars inside have broken, then just, even if they did, just let it come down naturally. All right, because you're going to have to start the process over anyway. And you're going to have to make it so when all the steam is escaped, you can open this up and it's cool enough that you can fix this. But I say prevention is your best policy. So what you're going to do here with this is you want to make sure that it's on right. On here, it says bottom. Can you see that? That says top, and this one says bottom. Okay, see if you can see that. So when you put these together at the or when they put them together at the factory, apparently they didn't put hers on right. I've even seen one gentleman where this was on the top side and this was on the bottom side, and it was actually working for him. But that is absolutely wrong. You want to do it right. So now they've got them labeled. If you have an older Presto, they might not be labeled. I don't know. You have to write me down below and let me know. But what we're going to do here, so I don't scratch my sink top here, I'm going to put a little rag here. What you want to do right here is you want to check this. Now mine's on nice and tight. No problem. And I've got the right piece here, the piece that has the big indentation right here. The biggest piece, the biggest indentation goes on the bottom. And the small tip that fits in here, that goes on the top. And it all looks like it's, mine, see what it is it's welded together, see? And see what happened was that she had a broken piece. So what she needs to do is she can either go back and get a piece or she can take the canner back. If I were her, I would take the canner back and I would let Walmart or Target or wherever you bought your canner, even online, I'd let them know what happened. But yeah, I would take the canner back. That should never have happened. She said this piece right here just blew right off. And she had just gotten it up to steam. It had just started rocking. So she said it had just went up. And it blew that off. So very dangerous with that. And so you want to always check your equipment first. I can't reiterate on that enough. Always check your equipment first. Make sure that doesn't feel loose or rigidity. It should just move up and in here just perfectly like that. Now, if you have a gauge, you'll want to clean your gauge with a little bit of Windex or something. That's fine. A little Clorox wipe. That's fine. If it is gauge, you can remove the gauge and you can clean it that way. And again, you'd still have the air vent, the steam vent. All right? Now, what we're going to do now is we've got it all checked out. Everything doesn't look too worn. Check your handles. Make sure they're on there still nice and firm. So when you pick up your canner and move it around, your handles should not be moving. If they are, fix that right away or get a new canner. If they're fixable, fix it. Do not ever drill any holes in here, and don't ever try to do anything to the canner that might put a hole in there that might stop that pressure. Okay, if it's not done at the factory, don't you be doing it. All right, and I always suggest return things if it's not right. All right, so now I'm going to sit this upside down right here. Don't hit the camera. All right, we have this time to dry, I'm going to go ahead and just dry it off. Without pulling. You don't want to pull on this and stretch it. I'm just barely tugging. See that I'm barely touching it and pulling it through. Getting it nice and dry. I'll take it around about maybe 5 or 6 times. And I always suggest, if you have a Presto canner in it, or a canner that has a rubber ring, rubber seal, check it over really well. It should have no cracks in it. It shouldn't be looking dry. If yours does, or it has a lot of calcium buildup on it, what you want to do is you want to replace this. They're only about $4.99 on eBay or on Amazon. So replace these. And always, preppers, remember this, and homesteaders, always keep a couple of these extra on hand. Because if SHTF happens, or a world without law and order, there's not going to be factories open that are making these. So you want to keep a couple on hand. And when you store them with just a little bit of lubrication on them, and then store them just like this. Okay, store them just like this in a Ziploc baggie. All right. And I've actually literally have put mine into a Mylar bag, and I've actually lubricated them and put them in a Mylar bag. So that helps keep them lubricated until you need them, so they don't dry out naturally with the weather. Now, we're going to use just a hint of either pure vegetable oil, olive oil, or grapeseed oil, okay? Just a little bit here. I'm just going to put just a little bit. It doesn't take much, like 1/8 of a teaspoon. It doesn't take much at all. And like I said, I like using the grapeseed oil or the vegetable oil the best. Let me put this so you can see it here. I'm just going to use my hand, or you can even use a napkin. But if I use my fingers, I can really feel. Now I'm not going to over lubricate this. I'm just going to rub it between my fingers like this right here. And then I'm just going to kind of do the outside first. Like I said, it doesn't take much. And now I'm just going to run it around the outside. Remember, without pulling the ring or stretching it, we're just lightly pulling it around. And now I'm going to do it on the outside edge here, just a little bit. It doesn't take much at all. You can really work this oil across here. It should have just barely have a shine to it. And now it's very important also that we do this inside of this little V area here. We're going to do that as well. Anywhere the rubber can start cracking or drying out from the pressure canner. And it sees more pressure, more steam on the inside of this because of the way it lays in the lid right there. It sees a lot of steam on that inside V right there. All right, and again, I replace my seal every year to 2 years. When you take care of it, they last you. I'm going to take the clean end of my dry towel here, and I'm just going to very lightly take some of that oil back off. And inside right there, just lightly. There you go. And I still have a little oil left on my hands, so I'll kind of go back over it. But let's see if you can see that. See, I barely have a sheen to that. And all the edges, even down in every little crack here, has been oiled. And we are ready now to, get it off my hands here. We're ready now to put this back into our canner lid. Now, this just slips right in here, just like that. And if I didn't stretch it, look at that. It fits back in here perfectly. And I take and I give it a little bit of a turn, maybe about a 1-inch turn, and kind of go like this just a little bit. Get that oil on the lid a little bit. Now we're going to take our oil and just a little dollop, just a little piece, just a little bit. And we're going to put it right here. And we're going to protect this little ring here. Again, wiping some of it back off. And then we're going to put a little bit here on the top. Kind of get around that edge here just a little bit here. My nails aren't very long. And I'm putting just a little bit around this piece here. And just a little bit around my nozzle. Just whatever's left on my fingers. This will help keep that stuff from sticking on my lid. Keep that looking nice so it wipes off nicely. And if you want, you can put just a little bit that's on your hands on that bake light. That'll keep that from cracking as well. There you go. And there you have it. All right, so the lid is done. The lid's prepared. We've blown through it. It's working perfectly. And I know now, you know, you can even check this right here to make sure this is on tight. And it is. And I know now that I can can with that for the season. Now, take note. Now I take the seal out and I put a little oil on it about every 6 to 7 times that I use my canner. About every 6 to 7 times that I get a load of jars through my canner, I put just a little hint of oil back on that seal. I wash it and put a little bit of oil on it. And you don't even have to wash it every time. You can just put a little bit of oil on it. Okay, it's just maintaining the seal of your canner. And again, this is for a canner that has the seal. But these tips can be used on any canner. And now I'm going to take this piece, and you can submerge it. That's fine. Now you're going to see what happened to me here. When I picked it up, I have a loose handle. Let's see if I can turn you this way just a little bit. All right. Don't get any water that's in there. All right, now we're going to handle the canner. Now I got lucky and did this. I noticed that my handles were loose. So let's fix that now before that becomes a problem. A simple Phillips screwdriver. Get that handle where we want it so it doesn't block the lid there. And I'm just going to put that on real tight here. Push and turn. There you go, perfect. I mean, this has a lot of weight and a lot of jars in it when you're picking it up and moving it. So, and by the way, you'll notice right here is your model number of your canner. So if you have any problems or need to order parts or even order your seal rings or any gauge or any part to your canner, right underneath the handle that has your mark for your lid V, you know, your lineup mark, that right there has your model number. Okay? Now again, we're just going to take and tighten the handle down where we want it. You know, it is so worth taking the time and doing this. It's worth it. It gives you confidence through the rest of your canning season. Now, a lot of you will ask me, how often do I do this and check at this? Well, you always want to check it before you use it, but my canner pretty much stays on my stove for most of the season, as a lot of you know. So, before I start my canning season in the spring, I always let my canner rest, and I never can anything between January and between April. I do no canning. It's just a rule that I have. I take a break from it so that way I don't get overwhelmed, and I take on other projects that I have for the season. That's just me. Now again, I'm going to put this in the bottom of the sink so I don't scratch my just clean sink. See how easy that scratches up? I just sat there for a minute and it got a mark. Oh, I got a new farmhouse fire clay sink coming with the new granite tops. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait. I've waited my whole life for granite countertops, and I've been saving for this for 50 years. I've been wanting granite countertops, so, well, maybe not 50, but at least 30. I've been wanting granite countertops, so the real granite. Now, a lot of people think this is real granite, but no, sorry. It's just, it's that new granite look. So I'm really excited. As a matter of fact, here was my choices for the granite. There you go. That was my choices for the granite. Which one do you think I should pick? The new Venetian gold, which is actually lighter than this. It's more the color that I already have. Or should I go with the Santa Cecilia? I don't know. I'm still up in the air, but I'm leaning on this one because it's close to what I already have. My mother picked this one out, and I'm not a fan of it. It's called brown brook something. I don't know. It's all right, but it's not me. I like a little bit more marbling. Okay. All right, so trying not to hit my sink. We're going to go ahead and we're going to wash this up, which I've already done. Now, if you want, you can boil a little bit of vinegar in here and baking soda, and you can scrub it with a little bit of boiling water, baking soda. Or if you want, you can even pour a little boiling water in here with some baking soda, and you can give this a good scrub. And I do this once or twice a year. Okay? Again, we're going to put a little oil on those Bakelite handles. You don't want too much on there. You don't want this to slip out of your hand, but you also want to maintain your canner. I think it's very important. Make sure there's no food or any grease up around that edge. Make sure we got that clean. So I can rinse this. I'm going to go ahead and take out my water. Oops, Careful, Janie. I'm going to go ahead and use this instead. I just painted on my backsplashes, so I'm trying not to get... Okay, there we go. There we go. Alright. Dry it out really well here, and we're just going to check it out and make sure. Go. Here, we're going to make sure that our locking mechanism's on tight. And that's riveted on, so there's nothing I can do about that either way. We've got the handles. Yes, they're nice and tight now. There's no food up underneath this rim. Everything looks good. Now, a lot of people will say they love their American canner, but I have a glass top stove, so this is the best that I can do. And I can't even do the too high, the larger one. I have to do the one that will only hold 7 quarts because I got a glass top stove. But that's fine because I like my glass top stove. I'm willing for the trade-off. And I only have 1 burner on my glass top stove that I'm allowed to can on according to my stove directions. So be sure and check out your stove directions for that as well, okay? That's very important. All right, so we're ready to go. I'm going to be using this to do some canning, so I'm going to go ahead and fill it up with the water. Now, inside here, you can fill up and down here, and there they are. You can fill the marks right here for your fill-up line. This right here would be for pints. Your next line right here would be for quarts. And I always put a little bit extra in there because you steam vent for 10 minutes. And when you steam for 10 minutes, I don't feel that they take into account that low amount, that low mark there. I don't know. You don't want to run your canner dry. Whatever you do, you never want to run your canner dry. I've had people put several loads of jars through the canner, and then they'll come back out, and in the same water, they'll do some more jars. Or they'll steam them and keep them hot and clean first, and lose all that water in the steam, and then come back through and can in it. You have to replace the water. You've got to replace the water. Fill for that little notch and replace the water. And I always add a cup or 2 more. So this is a little tip that I'm going to give you. We have pints, we have pint and a halves, and we have quarts. When I fill up my water and it's completely filled up and I'm ready to put the lid on for canning, for pints, I like the water, when it's all filled up, you fill the water to here, then you put all your jars in, the water should be up to about right here on the jars. And that's for meat for 75 minutes for pints at 10 pounds or 15 pounds of pressure. The water should be right up in this general area. That gives you 10 minutes of steaming water. That will drop the water level almost a ½ inch. Believe it or not, it drops it quite a bit. And then plus you have 75 minutes of steam escaping from the rocker. So it drops it some more. So you want to make sure that you never run your canner dry. Now here's the pint and a half jars. Pint and a half jars are larger than pints, but they're smaller than quarts. So what do? Well, we make sure that we fill the water up line because they're almost, see, they're little, even just a tiny, maybe a quarter of an inch taller than the quart jar. And we know that the quart jar line is right here. So what I do is I always add that extra cup or two, and I do the same for the 1.5 pints that I do for the quarts. Canning time, same thing. 75 minutes for all meats must be pressure canned. All meats must be pressure canned. And it's 75 minutes for pints, and it's 90 minutes for either quarts or the 1.5 pints. Until Ball comes out with a time that I'm comfortable with for the 1.5 pints, I'm going to treat it like a quart jar because it's more than a pint. It's a 1.5 pints. So we know it would take longer to can this. So we go ahead and treat it like a quart. So we can the 1.5 pints for the same amount of time we do the quarts. All right, does that make sense? 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for meat at 10 pounds of pressure or 15. We're going to go over that in a minute. For 90 minutes for the quarts or the 1.5 pints. Now, you've got your times. This is just for meat. You've got your times for all meats. All meats. There's no exceptions. Maximum time. If your soup has a meat in it, maximum time. So let's say I did a soup that had hamburger in it. Meatball soup. Well, we know the longest maximum canning time is 90 minutes for meat. So you'd want to can that soup for the longest maximum time, which is the 90 minutes. Or 75 minutes for pints. 90 minutes for quarts. 90 minutes for 1.5 pints. 75 minutes for pints. All right, I'm going to give you one more example so we make sure we got it in our heads. When we fill the water up, it should be about to right here by the time all the jars are submerged. Add an extra cup or two if you feel like you're going to be steaming this for even longer than 10 minutes, or you feel like you lost some water from the steam bath, add that water back in. Quarts. Quarts. And 1.5 pints. When they're in here, the top fill line, you can fill it right here and add another cup to a 1.5 cups for that 10-minute steaming. And for any time you might have used steam and the water came back out, add that water back in. And I'm only repeating this because I cannot iterate on this enough how many people have let their canner go dry, and they've actually had the product seal, yes, because it's under pressure, but you should never let your canner go dry. The lowest I think I ever had it, because I forgot to put water back in for my 3rd batch, was probably about this much water. It was very, very close to being dry. And then after that, I made a note to myself in all my cookbooks and everything and said, add water to the canner. Add water to the canner. So we've got the canner. We're going to add our water. We're going to be canning sausage patties, sausage links, meatloaf, hamburger patties, whatever you're canning in meat. You want to use a wide mouth jar, because a small mouth jar, you wouldn't be able to get the meat out. My meatloafs I can in the 1.5 pints, and they just slide right out. Now someone asked me, how do you make all of your meat patties and your sausage patties the same size so that they will fit in your jars and you won't have any issues? Easy trick, right here. Sausage patties, I make them with the small mouth lid rings. I just put in the patty stuff right in here, and you'll see that those fit down inside a large mouth just perfectly. And that's a small mouth ring. See that? By the time you do the inside amount, they'll fit right down. There you go. They'll fit right down inside there. Same with the 1.5 pints jar. They fit down in there perfectly. And the same with the quart jar. They fit down in there, look at that, perfectly. And you'll see if you make it with this, they're almost too big to fit down in there. So you could make it with the wide mouth lid, but when you take the meat out, you might have to smush it in just a little bit to get it to drop down in here. So I find that this method for a mold, and then I label my two, these are my 2 molds. I actually have these tied together with a zip tie. And I actually keep these separated in my canning closet, because these are my molds for my for when I can hamburger patties, when I can sausages, anything along that line. Salisbury steaks with mushroom sauce. That's the way to form it up if you're going to actually can it to make it fit perfectly in the jar. Just a free tip there for you. I hope that helps. And then also, you want to be sure to use jars that have no chips and no cracks in them. Check every jar. And I check, what I do is I bring in all my jars from the canning season that I've emptied from the winter, and I run them through my dishwasher. Look at all my jars. My dishwasher, if you know you're a canner, when your dishwasher is full of glass jars. I mean, I saved everything. Even my jelly jars from last year. I save unique jars. I love jars. And I even showed you how if it's got the pop top on it, like a fruit jar at the pop top, I put jam in it and I re-water bath can it. You can re-water bath, not pressure can, but you can re-water bath can the pop jar, baby food type jar lids. You can re-can those with jam and jellies. And I do. I've had excellent luck with that. You can also re-water bath can the baling lid type ceramic top lids off of juice bottles and things. I've done that as well. I'm going to ask, do I fill this up with hot water or cold water? Remember, hot jars, hot water. You never want to put a hot, sterile jar into cold water. You'll crack it. Even if it's tempered, you can crack it. If you're cold packing, then you don't, just room temperature water is perfect. Let's say I cold packed hamburger meat. Then I'm going to want to put this down inside room temperature or even cold water. I want to bring that temperature up to the jar and to this together, which means I'll probably, after I sterilize the jars, it means I'll even let the jars come down and with the water to room temperature. Remember, cold jars, cold to room temperature water. Hot jars, hot water. You don't want to crack those jars. All right. Question number 6. What do you do if somebody just asked me this one? I believe it was, wasn't Rachel, let's see, Diana. Diana asked me this one. What do you do if you get the white film on the jars? It doesn't hurt anything, but you can prevent it by putting in a splash of vinegar. That's all you need. Just a splash of vinegar. And this also, while you're steaming your jars, if you're cleaning your jars and you want to sterilize your jars, a splash of vinegar in there won't hurt anything at all. It'll help keep the inside clean and it'll help sterilize the inside with the vinegar acid as well. Vinegar is the most wonderful thing that man ever came out of the apple orchard. Great stuff. We even drink vinegar, the mother of vinegar, because it's so good for you. Another little tidbit. You never want to can on a glass top stove without asking the manufacturer if you can. And you never want to can on a glass top stove, even if they say you can, if you have a dirty ring around your glass top that is like a sugar or like a dirty thing. You always want to clean your glass top first, because that sugar ring and that debris ring on the outside of your burner where things have spilled over and burned or whatever caked on, that can break your glass top, okay? And here is mine. Mine is the center ring. And what you want to do is when you set your canner on it, your canner bottom should not be more than 1 inch overhang from the actual ring on your glass top, on your electric top, on your gas. Your canner should never be 1 inch over the outside of that. It has to do with the heating and the pressure and it dropping and not maintaining its heat inside the canner. So, and on a glass top, you never want to slide your canner on it because that can scratch your top. If there's any sugar, a piece of salt, or a little grain of anything underneath here, you can drag it across the glass top and you can scratch your glass top. All right, so avoid dragging your canner across your stove. Make sure you always use a rack. Don't forget the rack in the bottom. Be sure and add your splash of vinegar. And make sure that you took through all the steps that I did. Now again, I do this at the beginning of each canning season. And I'm going to line up my arrow here, my arrow here. You want to make sure that your canner never touches these Bakelite type handles that are on your stove. If you have your knobs here, make sure that this never touches those because you can melt these and you don't want to melt your knobs. That wouldn't be too wise. See how nice that went on? We're just going to slide it back and forth a few times. Get that oil on there. That's perfect. It's not loose. When we turn this on and it's in the locked position, the only steam that should be coming out should be from the center piece here. When the stove is on, when this is steam venting for 10 minutes, you should be able to put your hand about 6 inches away without burning yourself, but you should really be able to feel that pressure of the steam. You're going to vent it for 10 minutes, and then that's when you put on your weight. Where's my weight? I always keep my weight in my spice drawer. I always know where to find my weights. Always keep them where you can find them. Now we're going to discuss the weights. And you can put a little oil on this part right here too to keep it from cracking. That's fine. Now we're going to discuss the weights. If you have a gauged canner and you got the little round gauge here, then you're going to want to check your canner. You always want to check your canner instruction manual. Don't ever bypass reading it. It is worth the peace of mind reading it from the front cover to the back cover, and I suggest reading it from the back cover to the front cover and going vice versa several times. This will let you know what your times are. You can figure out how they figured out the times by the item that's in it that gets canned the longest. Like if there's meat in it, it's going to get canned 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for quarts. That's just the way that it is. Pressure. The pressure that you're going to put, your weight on your canner, is going to depend on your altitude. And again, read your canning book because this can change according to your canner and your area. Call your local extension. Don't guess at it. Don't look it up online because they could be wrong. I want you to call your local Homemakers Extension Club or your local 4-H county building. And they will tell you, or if you know a canner that just cans all the time, that goes to 4-H, they will have this answer. They'll tell you what your altitude is. Read that canning book, instruction manual. They will tell you how many weights you should be canning with. And this is the weight amount that you will can from your location of your stove, no matter what you're canning. No matter what you're canning. Pounds of pressure, well, I know that's not right for me because I'm 1,000 feet above sea level or less. I think we're at 8 something. So I would be 10 pounds of pressure. So 5 pounds, this is 10 pounds, and this is 15 pounds. So if you're over 1,000 feet above sea level, check your canning guide again. Always check that. But you should be at 15 pounds of pressure. So whenever I give you a canning recipe and what I'm doing, then you have to make that adjustment for where you live because I don't know my fans. I mean, I know them, but I don't know where they live, and I can't be that judge for you. Only you know the answer to your altitude. You know how many feet above sea level that you are. Are you on the beach and you're at sea level, or are you at 3,000 feet above sea level? Well, if you're in Nevada and you're in the mountains, you would be maybe at 2,200 feet above sea level, so you would have the 15 pounds of pressure on. Flatland, USA, Indiana, the little cornfields, we're below 1,000 feet. We're at 600 or 800 and something. I have to check it out. But I know we're below 1,000 because I called my 4-H extension office and they told me. So many years ago, so I knew that I always can at 10 pounds of pressure unless otherwise noted. I'm always at 10 pounds of pressure. All right. So I'm going to put my 10 pounds of pressure on there like that. Just for right now. You don't normally put it on right away, but I'm just showing you. And I'm going to take this other ring, in case we ever move. I want to be sure and keep this in a safe place. So it goes right next to my stove in my spice drawer. I mean, I don't know if you're like that or not, but that's the way that I am. All right. Now let's say my jars are in here. They're full of meat. Let's say I'm canning meatloaf. full of meat. I got the 1.5 pints in here, so I'm gonna treat them like quarts. So I know that I'm gonna be canning at 10 pounds of pressure for my below 1,000 feet above sea level. Or if I was above 1,000 feet, I know with this canner, in my directions on my canner, my Presto canner here, I know I would be using 15 pounds of pressure if I was over 1,000 feet above sea level. So I hope you get that. I've kind of reiterated on it several times. I hope you understand that. If you don't, read your instruction manual or look that up on your local 4-H website, your extension office. All right. We don't put that on yet. What I do is I just sit it aside right here by the stove, or I sit it aside in like a little spoon holder so that I know that I've got it nearby. Now let's say the water's boiling. I've debubbled everything. I've packed everything with meat. You know, I've got the juice in here. I've got my 1-inch headspace. I've cleaned the rims with a little bit of vinegar and water. I've got my clean hot lids on here. I've got my rings on here, finger tight. Well, actually, it's a little tighter than finger tight. And then I've got the canner full. I try never, ever, ever to run a partial canner. I will go to the refrigerator and get the salmon or something else out, the fish or some other meat that I know cans that same amount of time. And I will like maybe make some hamburger patties. Pack them in here. And I will cook my hamburger patties because I know the maximum time on my hamburger patties, 4 pints, is 75 minutes, which would be the same amount of time for any other meat that I am pressure canning. And I can't reiterate on this enough. Meat gets pressure canned. There's no other way around it. Meat gets pressure canned. And it all gets pressure canned for the same amount of time unless otherwise noted. Now, it's steamed for 10 minutes. I can hold my hand up over here and I can feel that steam. I set the timer for 10 minutes. The donger's gone off. It's steamed for 10 minutes. I know I've got extra water, the extra cup or 2 of water in here for that evaporation. About 6 to 8 inches away from this, and you can feel that steam. You should really be able to feel that air hitting the palm of your hand when you cup it like this. You should really be able to catch that steam without burning yourself at about 6 to 8 inches away. And you'll feel the wetness and you'll say, okay, that's a nice firm steam. It will steam like that for 10 minutes. You will set your timer 10 minutes. Always 10 minutes. You must vent and steam vent your canner first. Unless otherwise the recipe calls for something different, always steam vent your canner. So let's say we're doing meats today, so we know we're going to steam vent. All meats get steam vent, so we know it gets steam vented. 10 minutes. The weight goes on. My altitude is under 1,000 feet, so I know that it's 10 pounds. So I've got the 5-pound weight and another 5-pound weight, 10 pounds. Now, we're not starting the timer yet. We have to wait for this to start to rock. We're going to keep this on a near high heat, and we're going to wait for this to start rocking. Now, as soon as we start getting a nice steady rock like this, then we're going to adjust our heat downwards, just a little notch at a time until it's maintaining a nice steady rocking motion, just like this. You don't want this to stop. If this stops rocking for more, you got to start your time over again. Now, if you just feel like it got stuck, then I've actually walked up here before and just barely touched it and see why it was up. So you want to adjust your heat. That means you dropped your heat too far. Bring your heat back up, and then right away you'll notice, even on a glass top, you'll notice it shaking again. Keep this thing in a steady shake. Get to know your stove. My stove, it keeps a steady shake at the 3. It will maintain a steady shake for 90 minutes. Once I've kind of hung around for the first 5 or 10 minutes and I've adjusted my temperature and I've got it just so it's rocking perfectly, I can't reiterate on this tip enough. Never leave the room. I have an open concept house. You can go sit in the family room and turn the show down low. You know, I keep a timer on my watch and I keep a timer on the stove. Whatever it takes for you to remember not to walk away from this. Never let children underneath your feet. Never let pets underneath your feet. Don't let cats up on the countertop. Don't let animals up on the countertop. this is still considered to be a dangerous thing. You want to respect it. Now, if you do everything that I've told you to do, you will have a wonderful canning experience. You really will. Now, let's say that our 75 minutes for our pints of meat are up. We're going to turn off the heat next. Just turn off the heat. Don't touch this at all, because the steam will escape. You want to drop the pressure down slowly, so you want to let it do it naturally. Don't ever burp it, and don't ever do anything to it unless your canner instructions ask you to. I've seen people say, well, I burp my canner to make sure there's no air in it. There's no air in it. It's under pressure. It's not there. Okay? It's not there. That's why you put the weight on, for it to build up pressure. And you'll want to let it cool until this pin, let's get you up here. You want to let it cool until this pin drops into the position it's in right now. Now, when we were canning and we were steaming and we put this on, this little piece popped up and it stayed up through the rest of the canning process. Now we've let it cool back down, and this piece here, see it? It was up during the canning process. Now it's down. And when you hear that sound, hear that? We're going to do it again. When you hear it drop and it makes that sound, that's the indication, that sound. And when this is dropped, that's the indication that if you remove this or if you open this up, that this will not explode in your face. This is no longer under pressure. The pressure has been released naturally. Good thing. So what we're going to do now is, when this is dropped, we're going to do this. We're going to open it up to the V's meat. We're going to remove our weight, because that's not serving a purpose anymore. And we're going to let this just naturally vent for another 5 to 10 minutes. We're just going to let this naturally cool down. If you are on a glass top stove, as soon as this gets done rocking and your timer's up, you're going to want to pick this up and you're going to want to move this over onto a cooler section of the stove. Now, I've come back 10 minutes later. There's really not a lot of hot air coming out. This is still hot. You can still hear the jars in here sizzling and bubbling and stuff. That's fine. You want to open this up away from your face. Away from your face. This protects the steam coming up in here from blasting you in the face. All right? So instead of opening it and pinking it up, that will just force that steam right into your face. You never want to do that. All right. So remember, never open it up like this, because this vents the steam right into your face, just like this. Whenever you open up your canner, okay, you're going to want to open it up away from your face. This is your protector from that steam hitting you in the face. All right? So now, let's say it's done its process. Set the lid aside on a safe cloth, and you see your jars here and you're thinking, it's really cold out and we're in a cold breeze. You know, it's winter time. You never sit your jars in a cold draft. It can crack and break them. They're still very hot. So what I like to do is I like to keep them in their little incubator. You can leave the lid on or partially on, but you never want to leave it in here for more than 10-15 minutes, because the pressure is what you need to make these jars seal. And you've got to get them to come to a cooler temperature sort of quick, because we need that vacuum. We need that vacuum. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open this up and we're going to remove the jars. So now let's say we're going to remove our jars. They've been in their little incubator for about 5-10 minutes, but we need that pressure. We need them to seal down. So we need to go ahead and remove them. This is still steamy. It's still very hot. And pretend like there's a lid and a jar ring on here. When we pick these up, there's going to be water on the lid. Some people say don't tip them, and you don't have to. Depends what I'm canning. If I'm canning meat with grease in it, I won't tip it. I won't do the tip, because I don't want oil up underneath that lid. But if it's just like green beans or something, then I will go ahead and I'll just give it a quick little tip. I've never not had a jar of green bean seal. And I've been canning for 30-some years. So the theory of saying that something could get stuck up underneath there. They're usually already popping at this point anyway. They're already sucked and sealed down. So, so when you pick up a jar, you're going to want to, and this would have food in it, so it'd be weighted down. You're going to pick up a jar by this bottom ring right here. I can't iterate on how important that is. If you were to pick it up here where that ring goes on, then that can pop right off because of the pressure and because of the heat temperature difference. That ring, just like anything else, just even like wood, it can swell, shrink, and contract. So don't pick it up here, because I did that one time. It's the only jar I never had seal of jam. And I had black raspberry jam. John will tell you, I had black raspberry jam. Thank God I did it, and it popped and it fell over by the sink, because I had blackberry jam all over the countertop and all over the sink. And we know how bad that stains. It took me a week of Sundays to clean that up, the stains up off my white sink. But all because I wasn't thinking, and I thought I had a hold of it, but see, I didn't. I had that underneath of it there, but here I had a hold up here, and it popped it right off, a jelly jar. So always pick it up straight out of here, come down on it like this, and again, it would be weighted with food, and then come up on it like this, squeeze, not too hard, squeeze, make sure you got a good grip, give it a little tip if it's not greasy food. If it's meat or a greasy food, then don't tip it. And then carry it over. Now here's another tip. You must put this on a cloth covered countertop or wood board, because again, these may be tempered jars, but they're extremely hot. And your countertop, especially in the air conditioning or the winter or in a draft, could break these. So put these on a cloth lined countertop. A cloth lined countertop. Just like, not a wet cloth, a dry cloth. And bring them directly out of the canner and sit them down on a dry cloth or towel. Leave them alone. Do not tip, play, tighten the lids, unless they're Tadler lids and they call for you to tighten and back off. Don't touch regular ball metal lids. All right? Let them seal naturally. Don't push on the little button. Don't mess with it. Okay? Don't mess with it. Now here's a lid. I'll just say this is the lid. Now when it seals, you won't always hear this, but you should hear this. You should hear pop. Can you hear it again? It'll start popping. It'll be even louder than that. It'll really suck that down, like this. You'll really hear it. And you'll start hearing the popping and everything. That's good. That's good. But you can count them if you want to. That's fun. The kids used to count them, and I used to count them when I was little. But here's the deal. They won't always make that sound. Sometimes they'll suck down slow. You hear that? You might not even hear it. It's fine. As long as, 8 to 12 hours later, the lid should be down like this, and when you press on it, that should not pop back up. You should not feel, you should not have that give. Can you see that okay in the light? Can you see that moving in the light up and down? Okay, when you push on it, you shouldn't see any movement on that lid. Let's see if I can get that. See, when you push on it, you shouldn't get that same movement like you do like that. You shouldn't hear that. If you hear that sound, then put this in the refrigerator, take the lid off. I mean, obviously it'll come right off. It means it's not sealed. And when it's completely cool, put it in the refrigerator and eat it up within the next 48 to 72 hours, depending what it is. All right? If you have any questions about canning, leave a comment below. I have been canning. My mother comes from an Amish family. My mother-in-law canned a lot. She cans a lot. My sister-in-law cans a lot. Everybody I know cans. And I've been doing this for, this year I think I'm on my 34th or 35th year of canning. I've been canning a long time. But that doesn't mean that I haven't made mistakes. The only time I lost something was because I didn't debubble it. So if the recipe has a liquid in it and it calls for debubbling, do not forget to debubble your jars, because that can cause air coming in here, and that can actually cause, when it's sealing, it can cause an air bubble to come up and buckle your lid. I'm just going to talk about lids just quickly. And that On the lids, you can see that's got like a little dent in it because I got this out of the used lids. And what I have is I have a container here. I have a container here, and it says, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it said lids for only vacuum sealing. These are used lids. You can reuse lids for vacuum sealing on your food saver over and over again. As long as they're vacuum sealing, you can use them over and over again. But you cannot use a used lid for canning. You always want to use new lids for your canning, for pressure canning, and for jellies, for water bath canning. You never want to use the used lid for that. If somebody tells you they do and they've had luck with it, then they're not a professional canner then, because no professional canner would tell you to reuse a lid twice. If you're going to do that, get the Tatler lids. And the Tatler lids, you'll have to read the directions on the old ones and the new ones. They may require you to tighten and untighten or take another quarter turn when it comes out of the canner. So again, always read the directions on the box. Always read the directions. Don't go by what somebody else says. Make the judgment based on what the manufacturer says. That is your best bet. If you're new at canning and if you're in doubt, read the directions. They will tell you what to do. I do suggest the ball canning book. I don't have it with me right now, but I suggest they got the new ball canning book out at Walmart right now or at the Tractor Supply stores. Go get yourself some canning books. They're tried and true recipes on YouTube. If they're tried and true, try it. But I suggest if you're a beginner and if you don't know any of this stuff, you should not be canning butter. You should not be mixing honey and butter together. I'm so sorry, Diana, to say this, but even I don't can butter. It's a very risky thing to do, and there's those that do it, but they are seasoned canners. And you know what? I bet they haven't been doing it long enough to say that they've not poisoned anybody with it yet. You know, I mean, when you get somebody that comes up to me and says they've been making the recipe for 5 years, then I'll do it. But this isn't science, and this isn't a science lab. And the things that you see under a microscope are not the things that we can guesstimate at. So I tell people, don't risk it. If you're not sure about it, don't waste your money with it. Because if you're canning butter, you can go get powdered butter. You can get powdered butter and you can get granulated honey, and you can store it and make it up by the amounts that you need when you need it in an emergency. And it's shelf stable for up to 15 to 30 years. But if you just can butter in this form, it's only good for a couple months to a year or two at the most. So you've kind of wasted your time, and there's a lot of work into it. You've risked canning a full fat. With butter, you're only getting what they call is the ghee. The Indians call it ghee. Or you're getting the non-fat part of the butter. You've scooped off all the fat part of the butter. All the stuff that's going to give you calories in an emergency, you've scooped that off. So I would suggest not canning butter. Or you can rave and rant all you want and say, well, you can milk, and they tell you not to can milk. I'm comfortable with canning milk because I've done it, and I've seen so many of my friends do it, and so far no problem. I've canned cream of mushroom soup, cream of celery soup, but it does have a separation issue. I'm not worried about it poisoning us. It has a separation issue. However, butter is almost a pure fat. I personally wouldn't do it. That's just my opinion on it. So I hope that answered your question, Diane. And I wouldn't throw the butter out as long as it keeps a seal. As long as it keeps a seal, and when you do open it, if it smells like butter, you're fine. You're fine. Especially if it's in the later stages of the months that you've had it and you've opened it. You know, you should be fine. You're the first person that I see that's ever said that they've canned honey butter. She canned butter based off someone's video off YouTube, and then she said she put honey in with it because she thought the honey butter sounded good. Honey lasts indefinitely, but the butter itself does not. Butter itself does not. So did you can margarine, butter? I don't know how to answer that question because I'm not sure what exactly you canned. Salted, unsalted butter, I don't know. But she followed someone's directions. And then when you get in a panic, it's because you're a beginner canner. You don't know enough about canning to start canning these things that women are seasoned at canning. I'm not insulting anybody there. I'm telling you how to save yourself heartache, how to save yourself money, how to save yourself from worrying about whether or not you can feed it to your family or not. If you're already scared of canning, then you shouldn't be canning things that Ball tells you shouldn't be canning. You shouldn't take that risk for your family. You need to learn the basics like this first. You need to get comfortable with your canner, and you need to can the easy things first. There's going to be people that go out there and say, hey, you know what? I put marshmallows in the microwave and it exploded. Are you going to go out and put marshmallows in the microwave and watch it explode and then have to clean up your microwave? No. But what you would do is you would listen to Ball Blue Book, and you would say, hey, Ball Blue Book says that I can make this jam and I can water bath can it. I can make this meat and I can put it through the pressure canner. You're a beginner. Stick with tried and true recipes until you're comfortable and you understand how your canner and the water bath and pressure canning works. Stick with that. Because if you start jumping off the deep end like I do a lot, understand. So I've got 34 years of every year of canning, and I can all year long except for between January and April. So 34 years of canning. Constantly canning. And so I know what my times are. I know what I'm comfortable with. I know how long meat takes. I know how long green beans take. I don't even have to have the instruction manual, but I still write it down and I still make sure that I read it, because even I can make mistakes. And last thing that I want to do is I don't want to make anyone sick. And so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to teach you how to can butter and then turn right around and say, because I know there's too many people out there that will do it wrong. And if they do it wrongly, they could get very, very sick. So as a closing statement, and I'm not lecturing anybody, I'm just giving you examples. Sorry, Diane, I'm using you as an example. God love you. But I'm sure you won't mind, because these are the questions that you call me on the phone about. And I think they need to be answered. I think that people need to understand. They're in this panic for preppers to get things made. And during that panic, what they're doing is they're bypassing learning how to actually can, how to dehydrate. They're passing it up because they're in a hurry and they're in a panic. This is supposed to be enjoyable, and once you learn how to do it, you will not be stressed. You will be totally relaxed with it. You're going to enjoy it, and it's why I do it every year, all year round, basically. Ask Linda from Linda's Pantry. Go over there and ask her why she cans. Ask Noreen from Noreen's Kitchen. Now that she's been doing it for the last year or two, she's really into it since she's learned. She's doing great. Ask Bear Prepper. Ask any of these ladies. There's so many. I'm still working. I know she's gotten married and she's not on now. Misty Shooter. Ask, and there's so many of the men, the males that are canning as well. Ask them about getting started and why they stick with it. Because once you get going on it, you really do enjoy your time in the kitchen doing this. It's very enjoyable to take your garden and to preserve it. Very important to learn how to preserve your food. They've been doing this, and we've been improving it year after year after year after year. We know more and more and more about what we can and what we cannot can. It just depends on how much research people in the science lab have put into it. There's not a lot of science about canning milk, and I believe the dairy people just don't want you canning milk because they want you buying their milk. They don't want you, but if you're worried about it, buy powdered milk. Store powdered milk. It stores longer than, it's more shelf stable and stores longer than this anyway. All right, so if in doubt, buy pre-made dehydrated powdered foods. You can get powdered, you can make your own, or you can buy it powdered. Powdered sour cream, cream cheese, milk. Anything you can from your garden, you can also get in a dehydrated or powdered form. You can do it yourself, or you can save time and money. Well, I don't know if you're saving money, but you can save time and you can just buy it. And you can be insured that you can say, hey, I can't can. This is too much work. I don't want to do this. Then you can go to a company and you can buy it pre-done for you. I don't know about the canning, but you can buy the powdered mills already made. Sorry, my battery died. Wow, we've been covering the subject, haven't we? All right, so here's my chicken and mushroom soup. I canned this February 22nd of 2015 last year. Why I was canning in February, it's probably because somebody asked me to do something. But normally I don't can that far early into the spring season. So this is probably some recipe I made up. My probably see how it goes. You can add your cream and make this cream of mushroom and cream of chicken mushroom soup when I open this up and I heat it up. But this is shelf stable. This soup here will be shelf stable for about 2 years before it starts losing its coloring. Ball will say a year because that's what they're going to guarantee. But if I were to guarantee my product here, in a cool, dark place is where you want to store your canned goods. Cool, dark place. Somewhere between the temperature of 60 degrees, maybe 55, 60 degrees, and no more probably than 75 degrees. Cool, dark place, because you're in a clear jar here, and we know that the light penetrating through clear glass, can damage your nutrients in your food and the colorants in your food. I don't know about you, but I don't want to eat something that turned brown. So whether it's good or not, I want it to look good. So we have this, and I would say 2 years before, I try to rotate my stock, and I think that's very important, to rotate your stock. But here, if you just feel you can't do this, or it's a little bit more advanced for you, then here, one of my sponsors has sent me this. It's the white bean and lime chili, and it's the Irish pub style cheddar potatoes. So we've tried this, and you can go right there and see the reviews on that. I'll post that there, or maybe even in the show more box below. And you can see the reviews on these. And this is how you can dehydrate your own foods. And I'm going to teach you how to do that and put it in a Mylar bag. Or you can buy it already done. And look, it has a 25-year shelf life. Up to 25 years. So this is a lot easier, isn't it, John? Yeah. We found out this is so much easier. If it weren't for me enjoying all this and dehydrating my own food, trust me, I'm definitely getting more of this. There's this, and then you have a way to open cans in your shelters. Make sure that you have access to your food, easy access to your food, and make sure others don't. All right, that's just a few tips that I have for you on how to can, what to can, and why. And where to store it. The who, what, when, where's, and whys. If you have any questions, I think I covered everything really well. If you have any questions for me below, leave the question below. Or if you want to answer somebody else's question and I'm not in the room, then have at it. Be sure and have conversations with one another. Remember, I learn from you as I'm teaching you. So some others are very seasoned. Get it seasoned? Just kidding. Bad chef joke. But anyway, some of you are very seasoned at canning and in food storage. Some are very seasoned at the vacuum sealing. We'll put those links down in the show more down for that as well. We'll teach you how to vacuum seal. We're going to cover everything again this year, and we're going to reiterate on a lot of this how-to stuff. And remember, I've got 520 videos on YouTube. I had somebody watch one of my videos, and they said, well, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I've got 4 companies, but is teaching you not how to do this, does this not work? It is a lot of work. It can take me up to 2, 3, 4 days to get a video like this online, especially since my movie maker is now no longer compatible with my Windows 10 new computer because I lost my laptop. So we have a lot going on. Be sure and subscribe. I know this video is the longest one I've made to date, but I decided to make it a beginners on how to can and a questions and answers of why we can. And we can because we can. No, we can because our forefathers did, our mothers did, our grandmothers did. It's how we store food. It's how we store food. It's how we store food safely and abundantly. It's how we get a longer growing season from our garden. I mean, there's so many reasons. There's so many reasons with today's GMOs and stuff. I'm not even going to get into that today, but there's so many reasons. We love you. We hope this video has helped you, and we hope that you go with God and you are so blessed for the week. Okay? We hope you're so blessed for the week. God love you.